Welcome to a brand new episode of Spiritual Asshole. I'm so excited to be joined by Dr. Epsen. He is a Quantum Academy founder and speaker of the Quantum Academy. He's also a biohacking and peak performance specialist. He's a quantum coach. I mean, hell yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm awesome, bro. I'm pumped for this. Let's have some fun.
I can't wait. So, do you think that you're so happy because you're so fucking yoked, dude? Like you never see a bodybuilder who's lifting 700 pounds who's like asking himself, but what's it all about?
Oh man, it depends. When I used to be in the whole fitness figure industry, I realized that a lot of the people in that industry were actually there because mentally they didn't feel good, and the gym is a place where we ended up feeling great. And sometimes I think it has to do with, if I feel better physically, then I feel better about myself mentally in many ways. So from me, not speaking for the industry, but for me, that old chapter came from a place of not necessarily feeling good enough, I guess. But now, when I've healed the emotional wound, or at least a lot of them, I've realized that fitness, health, movement, biohacking, just being healthy in general, is the way I stay in a great state, mentally and emotionally. And if I don't exercise and if I don't take care of myself, shit, that's when I'm feeling, crap. So I guess it depends on which way you look at it. Both ways could be accurate, I guess.
So, what you're saying is it's not enough just to be hot.
I mean, it helps.
You said that human beings are made up of 99% of space is actually what you said, but have you seen your abs? Those are actually hard matter.
Well, this is a good thing, brother. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm in my 40s now, so if I can keep it real until I'm 80 something, then that'll be pretty cool.
Okay, that's great. So, how do you see the connection between your physical state and your body? Obviously, it's a huge part of it, but how do you see it now?
When you say physical state, what do you mean? And my body?
Like the connection, sorry, between like your mental, actually, I should say that the word should be mental, between your mental state and your body. How do you see that connection now? Do you see it all as one? Do you see them as two separate things? Like, how do you see it?
Great question. I mean, they do go hand in hand, as we know. And we understand the term psychosomatic has been thrown around a lot in the last couple of decades, but this is a real thing. We know, also, we just briefly talked about Bruce Lipton before, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts become things. So when we have a thought, for example, I'm not good enough, I don't look good enough today, I don't think I'm fit enough, I don't know if people like me, whatever it might be, that creates a cascade of chemistry secreted by your brain and nervous system into the body. So we know that everything that we think and feel has a direct effect on our physiology. So
Mm.
they do go hand in hand, even though the mental construct of, perceiving something, believing something, thinking about something, and the emotional aspects of feeling something are different. They both have a profound effect on the body. That's why we know if we firstly take care of our mind and we do the personal development type work, then we will feel much better in the body. And similarly, if we take care of the body, we go for a walk, we do a stretch, we do whatever we need to do, not that we want to do, but that we need to do, of course, mentally we'll feel more sound as well. So they are interconnected, even though they are somewhat separate.
Mm. Yeah, so you mentioned some traumas. I want to just quickly talk about your backstory. So you suffered a terrible motorcycle crash. You broke your back, both your legs, suffered a near-death hospital infection. You also found your brother dead when he was 5. Your sister was born with a disability, and your mom basically coped by drinking a lot. Are you worried that your childhood was too easy?
Dude, I love your questions, bro. Well, the old saying, pressure makes diamonds. Most people think or perceive that they want life to be easy. Because if it's easy, then we don't have the pain. Well, this is a growth-based universe, not a comfort-based universe. So there's two ways to look at it. I want to talk about this quickly, Brendan, because I think this is really going to help your listeners and viewers. There's one out of two beliefs that'll be the case for listeners, right? And we're talking about spiritual asshole. There's this spiritual aspect here. The first belief is, and of course, this is normally unconscious. The first belief is that we are only physical beings. Okay, so we're only physical. There's no spirit, there's no soul, there's no consciousness. Or,
Mm.
or if consciousness exists, it's a mental construct, and that's it. Okay, that's scenario one. Scenario two is, hey, I believe that there's more to me, perhaps a spirit or a soul, some sort of energy, some sort of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So listeners and viewers, just choose now. What do you believe? One or two, right? In
Yeah.
my classes, 99.9% of people over the years, or at least 99 plus, would say two. I believe that I'm a spirit or a soul. And so then, Brendan, if you go back and you look at, for example, I was 5 years old, you mentioned, I walked into my brother's bedroom and he's dead. To be 5 years old in the middle of the imprint period and to find someone dead is a major trauma for
Yes,
the young mind, of course.
absolutely.
So then as I grow up, there was a lot of suppressed emotions, and I didn't realize that so much of the dickhead behavior, so much of the shitty behavior that I had, honestly, well, when you don't have your shit together, you end up treating other people not so well as well. But a lot of that come from unresolved traumas because my mum was never trained to talk about emotions and to have that emotional, equilibration, or, whatever you might call it. So then let's go back. Okay. Again, if you decided that you are scenario number 2, I believe I'm a spirit, I'm a soul, I'm consciousness, I'm more than just the physical. Again, most people you define for yourself what you will call this thing. Let's call it a soul. If you realize that you are a soul, potentially then the eternal embodied in time, because I don't think many people would say, yeah, the soul dies when the body dies.
Mm.
Right? So if then you are the eternal consciousness embodied, pardon me, in temporary time, if you go back then and observe, maybe from above, this 5-year-old Espen finding his brother dead, there's one out of 2 scenarios you could apply here. The first scenario pertains to what I mentioned before, which is if you only believe that you are physical. So then you would say that that happened to me. I'm a victim of this, God, creator, or if you don't believe in anything, something did this to us or we're victims of it. And unfortunately, Brendan, most people throughout their life have never done this work. And so unconsciously, they have that kind of judgment, such as, why did that happen? We didn't deserve it. We are victims of it. And if that is the unconscious belief, then you create this victim-based mentality, such as you are a victim of it because it happened to you. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So
100%.
now the chemistry of the brain, the thoughts, the emotions, the victimization will just continue throughout life because, hang on, you're a victim of it. You didn't do anything wrong, but it happened to you. So then what I do with my students is I help them elevate their mind's eye or their consciousness to see it from the aspect of the spirit. And we know the soul doesn't judge, the soul doesn't blame, it doesn't wake up angry, it just loves. That's what I say the soul stands for, the state of unconditional love. It's not that we have love, we are innately made up of the vibration and the energy of love. And so if that's the case, what is the question that the soul would ask from a higher perspective? And I believe it's not, how did that happen to me? It's rather, how did it happen for me? And here's the key, Aaron. You can't change what happened. You can't change the past, but what you can change is the meaning. And when you change the meaning by changing the question from why did that happen to me to how is this happening for me? As I say, you go from being a victim of your history to a master of your destiny, because now, instead of having that programming of victimization, that 5-year-old boy did not deserve to find his brother dead. Now I can go, hey, listen, my quest is to teach people what it truly means to live. And we've done that with hundreds of thousands of people, not exist, but to truly live. So there are indeed some profound gifts in that trauma. So again, 2 scenarios, choose which one you believe. Go back to an instance in the past where you had a painful moment, write down 100 reasons, minimum 50 reasons why there were benefits to you, how it made you stronger, more compassionate, more patient, and you'll start to see that your physiology as well as your psychology will begin to change quite profoundly.
Yeah, that was my question. Actually, it's a 2-parter. So how did you were able to heal all this stuff? What did you actually do? That's the first part.
Well, firstly, I did not know that the majority, and I want to be really clear, the majority of the suffering that I had in my life, I went broke in 2011, $147,000 in debt. I worked my ass off, man. I was so passionate and so skilled. Still, I went broke. My relationships failed. My body kept breaking down in different ways. And I had no idea. I was like, why is this going on? Like, I'm working hard, I'm eating clean, I'm taking care of myself. But the underlying issue was the emotional wounding from including my childhood that I had not resolved. And we know that when that emotional wounding is there, such as my brother's dead, I hadn't healed it. I broke my legs on a motorcycle accident. I hadn't healed it. My mom's an alcoholic. I hadn't healed it. When all of that was there, it led to a whole bunch of shitty behavior, including addictions. I was drinking alcohol like a madman. And I didn't realize that all this was caused by the emotional trauma in the unconscious mind.
Mm. Okay, cool. So what steps did you take to overcome that past healing?
Well, firstly, the universe has a great tendency to kind of throw you challenges until you wake the fuck up and you realize, okay, I need to do something about this. So it was, a series of traumas, but it was also personal development. I realized I went to a seminar many years ago. I'm sure you've heard of Dr. John DeMartini.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Um,
I had him on the podcast.
Legend, right? If you guys
Yeah.
haven't heard of the Dr. John DeMartini, go to Brendan's podcast and listen to that interview. It's just brilliant. But he became one of my first mentors. And when I heard him speak, time and space disappeared for me and it left me fully present. And I had never had such a moment of presence before. So I
Mm.
started diving deep into personal development. And I recognized, Brendan, that I am the common denominator. It's not like I have suffering or I have situations. No, 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 no. I am the creator of everything in my reality. So hang on, if I'm the creator of my financial abundance and my financial stress, the beauty in my relationships, the suffering in my relationships, then really, as I say, if it is to be, it's up to me. I realized that if I want to have an amazing life, I have to devote myself to my own personal development because my greatest asset is what's staring back at me when I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah. Okay, so my other question is I actually, this is a selfish question, but like when I hear your story and I feel like you've overcome this, I'm sort of like, well, what's my excuse? Why am I getting upset about not booking this Applebee's commercial? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's not, I mean, this dude overcome all this. What would you say to those people that are like, kind of like me, see your story and they're like, it's incredible he overcome it. Why am I still stuck in some old shit?
Well, firstly, it's not necessary to have profound challenges to be successful. It does help, and there are patterns. Either one, you'll be overrun by your challenges and you'll be stuck forever, or two, you will empower yourself through them and then come, back to a stronger position. But for often those who haven't, it's no different. You just need to put yourself into scenarios where you stretch yourself. And it doesn't mean into trauma. It means into the yoga class that you don't want to go to, the ice bath that you've been avoiding, the
Hmm.
personal development that you've been not doing, the coach that you know you need to sign with that's going to pull you up on your shit so you can step up to the next level, the community, the people, the accountability that is available to you that you have avoided because of this hindbrain that's trying to keep you comfortable. So it doesn't mean that you have to have traumas. And firstly, please let me just take 10 seconds out to say this. If you don't have traumas and challenges of the past, like I've had or like others have had, please don't feel guilty. There's no need to go through trauma. If you feel amazing, feel amazing. Don't go, oh my God, I shouldn't feel so good. No, you should feel good. Enjoy that process. But remember, if you can put yourself into uncomfortable situations, we call it good stress. Right?
Yeah.
Making sure that you push yourself. Like I'd still do martial arts, as you mentioned. I'll hop in the ring with people that are bigger, faster, and stronger than me, just so I can feel the stretch. I'll sit in the ice bath for 30 seconds longer than I'd like to
Oh,
because
wow.
that's where I grow. So basically, the level of uncomfort, discomfort, and also uncertainty that you can handle equals your success. So get uncomfortable and get uncertain within a healthy range, and you'll grow just as fast as those who have had challenges.
I love that. Okay, so you said the quality of our life equals the quality of our most frequently felt emotion. What if that emotion is being horny?
Well, then you're an animal. You're having some good times, brother. Hopefully, you're able to transmute some of that energy, right? Asexual energy is a really beautiful and really powerful thing. And, if you feel it, then you can transmute it. You could transmute it in a sexual way with a beautiful partner, but you could also use that creative sexual life force energy to grow a business, to exercise, to meditate, to do breath work, to do whatever. So remember, everything is energy. And if you are horny and if you have a lot of that, oh, yeah, what do I do with this? Just choose how you wish for that outlet or that energy to be transmuted. I think that's a good thing to be aware of. And not for, of course, I wouldn't say dangerous, but I'd put it out there. One of the most inefficient, probably dangerous ways to spill your energy is, of course, masturbation and pornography and wasting that very, very powerful, potent life force energy that could be created into other things.
Cool. So what I heard you just say is it's okay to hump a couch a bunch. Okay, cool.
Yeah, man. Whatever floats your boat.
No, so I want to talk about this because I've finally started really diving into Joe Dispenza's meditations, and he was like really talking about how we need to change our energy to become a new person. Is that what you mean about like our most frequently felt emotion? Because sometimes I'm concerned that my most frequently felt emotion is stress, and I think that's a lot of people. So is that what you mean? Like then basically your life becomes stress?
Well, yes, your physiology will be an effect of your psychology. So what you're thinking will happen in your body. We know that. I think what Joe speaks to when he mentions this is that you can take charge on that and change it. The emotions is the feminine aspect or the language of the body. So if you feel something, it's important to acknowledge it. And if you think something, it's important to also acknowledge and be aware of it. But the combination of the thought, which is considered a more masculine aspect, and the emotion, which is the more feminine aspect, should be in balance. Okay.
Mm.
For example, if someone says, I want to make $1 million, that's the thought and the intention. And then they want to use, the law of attraction to create it. Well, it doesn't get created unless you can raise the vibration of the emotion to
Yeah.
match it. Because most people say, I want $1 million. That's the thought. But the emotion is, shit, I need money to pay my bills. So if you don't have coherence, you don't have creation. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're recognizing that stress is a regular thing, how do you deal with it? Well, again, your level of success equals the level of uncertainty and other things that you can handle. When I get stressed, Brendan, what I do is I put on some gloves and I hit the bag. I go for a run. I do some some stretches. I lift some weights because there I can move that energy through my body. And
Yeah.
I know, like you, being a successful entrepreneur, it's not always easy, right? I've lost lots of money. I've folded businesses and whatever else. And now to the point where I recognize that if I'm sitting here and I'm feeling cortisol and fight or flight, the best thing that I can do is to get off the screen, jump in the ice, lift some weights, move my body in certain ways, maybe do breath work and some stretches,
Yeah.
so that I could turn my brain off and get that out of the body. It's been a very, very useful tool.
Hump a couch. Okay, great.
Hump a couch.
That's the title of this episode. Okay, so question for you. What's the difference between trauma, stress, and just shitty habits? Sometimes, because like a big part of self-development, and a lot of people I talk about a lot, that I've talked to a lot, always say like go back and heal trauma. But sometimes I feel like it's just habits. And I could speak to myself. Like I know over checking my phone puts me in a really stressful state, yet I still do that. That's just not a great habit. Do you see these
Mhm.
things differently, or do you see them all kind of as the same thing?
Well, they're all interconnected, but I agree with you, bro. And this is a really important conversation. Most people don't recognize the level of addiction and attachment that they have to certain things in their life. Okay.
Yes,
The
yes.
phone being one of them. So if you don't have 1 day per week, well, firstly, let's look at it. If your phone is in your bedroom, big fucking mistake. If the last thing yeah, seriously, this is my opinion, right? If the last thing you do before you go to bed is looking at a screen, any type of screen, big fucking mistake. Your phone does not belong in your bedroom. It does not go on until you've finished your morning ritual. Like this morning, I was up at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. I'm starting with you. My phone went on at 7:45. So that's an hour and 45 minutes where I stretch, I
Wow.
drink my tea, I do my breath work. Like, honestly, I have to, if I can be blunt, I respect myself enough to have a moment of time for me and my energy and my ritual before I open up my energy to the world. Because bro, the moment you turn on that phone, ga-ding, 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 and you are
100%.
just caught up in everyone else's bullshit. Right.
100%.
So just don't do that to yourself. Keep your phone in a separate bedroom. Turn your Wi-Fi off at night. There's no point radiating yourself unless you're downloading some stuff. Turn it off. Get into your cocoon of restoration. Do you in the morning, whatever the fuck you want to do, man. Whatever your ritual is. And then when you're ready and you want to open up to the world energetically, you turn your phone on. Okay. And if you
Mm.
don't have, 1 day a week where you don't have your phone, like a no phone zone, Friday, my day, Sunday, fun day is what I call it, right? put that thing away. And if you recognize that it's difficult to even go to the toilet without your phone, it's called an addiction. Okay,
Yes,
it's called an
yes.
attachment. So put that shit away and step into it. For example, alcohol is another one. Like my mom's an alcoholic, or was before she passed. My dad's the same. You know, so she reaches for the drink when she's stressed. I had the same pattern, bro. You know, like 2 years ago, I was like, I found myself like, 10 p.m. on a Thursday night. I'm like, I need a glass of wine. Hang on, hang on, hang on. I'm drinking wine on a Thursday night because I'm stressed. Not cool. So I cut alcohol. Well, I needed to. I needed to. So I cut alcohol completely for 8.5 months. This year I've done 6 months, not a drop. Not because I don't like a glass of wine, but because I recognized that I had an attachment. Okay. So step number one is to write down a list of your attachments, potentially also your addictions.
Yeah.
Step number two is to recognize, here's the key. Ready, bro? What is the underlying emotion that leads me to holding that phone, holding that glass of wine? Oh, fuck. It's this, it's that. And it could be, as you mentioned, just the pattern or a habit. It could be not necessarily a strong emotion, but it's just so ingrained. You've done it so much. So then we need to put it away for a bit so we
Yeah.
can sit with ourselves and realize what's real, because the phone is not real.
Mm. Okay, I got to work on this. I have some things I have to work on.
Don't we all? Does that make sense though?
Of course, 1,000%. I've heard people talk about this with the morning routine, like don't touch your phone, and that's something that like I think a lot of us could really, because so many of us just immediately like ding, like immediately grab it, you know?
And then your energy, you don't have your energy right. You wake up, your brain is in a state of theta, you're fully relaxed, you're just susceptible to everything. And the first thing you get is ding, 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 ding. It's like not necessarily the best thing for your nervous system in the morning.
No. So you talk about, let's talk about quantum science and the quantum field. This is like my new favorite subject. What do you think the best thing quantum science tells us that regular science does not tell us?
Well,
Mhm.
firstly, it's interesting because we say that, science is the new religion and, people follow science. Well, not now. It's been suppressed, but from 1918, when Max Planck won the Nobel Prize for quantum research or quantum physics, when he described the quantum field, it's
Mhm.
been scientifically proven until today in 2024 that everything is energy, and there is a field of consciousness, a field of divine intelligence that is beyond space and time, that exists within us, that is who we actually are. So the difference between so-called science and spirituality is interesting, because now quantum science or quantum mechanics have it's been around for over 100 years, but now science is finally starting to catch up on what spirituality has been teaching for
Yes.
thousands of years. And there's no difference between the two. It's just how you look at it and how you understand it. But the truth of the matter is that we are made up of 99.9%, and then the 8 nines after that. And if you just go to Chat GPT or you Google and just research what percentage of my cells are made up of space, you'll get the answer, right? It'll pop up. And so it's difficult for the brain to comprehend, because hang on, I have a body, I have a right hand and a left hand. I'm, like you said, I've got abs. Like, I must be physical. Yeah, you are physical, but there is a field of intelligence that is who you are, and the body comes out of the field. It's like the
Mm.
field is who you are, cause. The body is who you're experiencing yourself as, effect. And it's not just I am the body having a field. No, I am consciousness having a human experience of the body. So if we can understand the difference between cause and effect, then we can begin to live in this human experience with 5 or 6 senses, if you include thought, without getting caught up in the lower mind, because that's where a lot of people live, in survival. You mentioned stress and fight or flight. That's not natural to our state. That's conditioned.
Yes, and that's like the big thing that I learned from just seeing Bruce Lipton. He's like, we should be in fight or flight at most 5 minutes. And I'm like, how about 12 hours per day?
Yeah, and that's the thing, buddy. I mean, if that's the case, then if I can be blunt, like in most cases, then what you're heading for is a cliff, adrenal
Yes.
fatigue, burnout, whatever you want to call it, because you cannot be in an expansive state where you supercharge your immune system, where you are healthy if you're living in fight or flight. And you are right. I should say Lipton is right, because in neuroscience, we know on average, no more than 5 to 10% of our time should be stuck in fight or flight or the sympathetic nervous system. In nature, if you see an animal being chased by another animal, prey and predator, they'll run, they'll get away, and then you'll notice how they shake as
Yeah.
they get away. Okay, that's them shaking their nervous system, shaking the stress out of the nervous system to go from fight or flight. Hang on, they had to get away from the predator into rest and digest. So when we recognize the things in our life that lead to fight or flight, that lead to stress, which I have to be honest, normally is ourself. And as you mentioned, it's spending too much time on this phone. So
100%.
if we can cut that out, be present, exercise, move, do some breath work, chill, hang out with beautiful people, get off the phone, and decide to have certain amount of time per day or per week where we are doing things that relax us. It could be getting a massage. Then we can start to change the conditioning of the nervous system. So just to be clear, if you're in fight or flight a lot, decide now to change your state, because you can, and rather now than getting a diagnosis of adrenal fatigue or something scary later, and then it's very difficult to reverse.
Mm. Yeah. So, how do you use quantum science and quantum medicine and all that to your benefit? Like seeing us as waves, which is such a cool idea that, again, I just learned from Lipton and listening to Dispenza. How can we use that to our benefit, do you think?
Great question. The first thing to understand by what Bruce Lipton has been teaching since he founded epigenetics over 60 years ago is that thoughts become things, as I
Yeah.
mentioned before. What you believe you will achieve is another way of saying it. So that's basically, say, 60 plus years of study in epigenetics in one sentence, what you believe you achieve. Okay?
Mm.
If you believe you're sick, you'll be sick. If you believe you're limitless, you will behave and act and achieve the results of limitlessness. Okay? So if you see yourself, again, the two scenarios from before, one, I'm just the body. Two, I'm consciousness having a human experience. If you see yourself as divine consciousness having a human experience, your experience will be very different.
Mm.
Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing to realize is that, okay, it's difficult for the senses to comprehend that I am made up of 99.9% pure, unconscious, or I should say untapped energy or consciousness. Then we can begin to measure it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll give you an example. The Hawkins scale of consciousness. Have you heard of that?
I think he showed us this, but yeah, if you can tell
Oh,
everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
so this is brilliant, guys. Look up Dr. Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins. He was a medical doctor, PhD scientist, and also psychiatrist who spent over 30 years finding a way to measure the different frequencies or the different bandwidths of certain emotions.
Right.
Right. So it's called the map of consciousness. Dr. Hawkins' interview with Oprah Winfrey on YouTube is worth watching. His book, Power versus Force, phenomenal. Right. So basically what he did is he was able to find a way to measure the different vibrational bandwidth or frequencies of the different emotions. 0 is no vibration at the bottom of the scale, which is, of course, death. If there's no vibration in the cell, then there's no life. And then the highest end of the scale is 700, which is where you
Mm.
find peace and love and complete enlightenment. Peace is at about 600, enlightenment 700. The interesting thing, Brendan, is that neutral is at 250. Okay. Love is at 528 oscillations or cycles per second. And fear is all the way down at 100.
Uh-oh.
Exactly. The interesting thing is, guess what? We said neutral is 250, right?
Yeah.
The stepping stone from contraction, let's look at it now. From neutral 250 and down is fear-based. Neutral 250 and up is love-based. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so neutral 250 and down is fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system. Neutral 250 and up is rest and digest or the parasympathetic nervous system, where we want to get to, right? The number one key, the trigger, the transformation, the pathway, the portal, the door between the lower self and the higher self, from fear to love, contraction to expansion, darkness to light, stress to presence, is courage. Dr.
Whoa.
Hawkins, It's so fucking cool, man. Dr. Hawkins speaks of courage all the time. Say yes today, work out how along the way. I don't know how to exercise, just start. I don't know how to meditate, just keep going. I don't know how to do personal development, just go to the seminar. Have the courage to step out of the old pattern into something new and keep on going. And that courage will get you from the lower to the higher end.
Mm. What if you feel like you have some courage, but you haven't seen the results of that courage yet? Let's just say I'm speaking for myself.
Well, what does the result mean? What would that look like in your mind?
It would look like achieving all the goals and desires that I want to achieve and bringing a certain level of abundance and safety in my life.
Okay, so the question is, what if I can see it in my mind, but I haven't received it yet?
Yeah, but I guess the answer is maybe I'm not doing enough courageous things. Maybe I need to stop humping so many couches.
Well, maybe indeed. I think it depends on the variety of factors. I mean, firstly, we have to examine our programming. What do we really believe about ourselves from a subconscious perspective? Secondly, we can identify and observe our environment. What kind of people are we spending time with? I mean, if you're spending time around billionaires, you're spending time around people that are super healthy, super fit, super conscious, you're going to become just like that. So most people, I think, at the moment, particularly in our classes, they recognize that they've outgrown a lot of people. They've grown consciously over the last, 2, 3 years, and they recognize that so many people in their environment, they're not really supposed to be at the same table, metaphorically speaking, of course.
Mm.
So a lot of people have changed tables. For example, like I have one of my mentors, an incredible guy. One of his companies worth $1 billion, and he's just the kindest, most humble guy. And every time we catch up for lunch, I do some coaching for him on the emotional, energetic, and quantum side of things. And he just takes 5 minutes out to tell me what he's up to in business, which just absolutely takes my companies to a whole new level. So I'm deliberately, consciously, and regularly putting myself out to into environments with people like that where I can elevate them, where I can help them. And just by being in their presence, I'm going to evolve. So I would say another way to look at this is to ask the question, who's quote unquote sitting at my table that
Mm.
does not any longer belong at my table, bitching, moaning, complaining, low frequency, stuck in victimization, whatever, no judgment, just an awareness? And who's at the table that I want to sit at that I'm not sitting at yet?
Beyonce.
Yeah, well, there you go. You can go hump her couch, mate. No,
No,
I'll
that
hump her couch. Don't get me wrong. That'll be
yeah, I mean we
fun.
all will. We all will. So that's fantastic. How much do you look at your subconscious programming? Is that something that you actually are actively looking at?
100%. And this is where a lot of people say, or they don't say, but they think that they're going to do it themselves. This is very difficult because you need someone to guide the process. For example, when I do this with my students, we do often closed eye meditation processes where we might pull the mind out of the body. We might use timeline therapy to go back in time and sit with from observing from 2 meters above the conversation that your parents had around the topic of money, for example.
Yeah.
And when it's guided like that by a coach or in a seminar type environment, every single person finds the answer every single time. But if you have to think about, hang on, I pull my mind up, I go back in time, I reflect it from above, and then you have to feel the emotion, become aware of the emotion, it's difficult. So the best suggestion here is to get a good coach that can do this stuff and really help you with this stuff. And I would say it's non-stop, because my results in my life did not start until I realized, as Lipton, DiMartini, Dispenza, myself, everyone says, 95% of what we experience throughout our entire life is through the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So if we don't go there, I mean, great. You keep on working with less than 5% of your potential and tell me where you're going to be in 10 years' time compared to someone that actually does get to the cause of the problem. So how much of it is? I would say a never-ending journey, but do it in the right way with someone that can guide you, that you can trust, where you can get results faster, better, and much cheaper than if you try to work it out on your own, and or much cheaper than if you don't do it, obviously.
100%. I love that. So you also do cold plunges. Do you think cold plunges were invented by guys with tiny dicks so they can justify their already small wangs?
Well, you never know, mate. But I will say that is one of the effects. Speaking for myself, of course.
I didn't start with that question. I was like, let's see if I can ask him this. So hilarious. So you do this process called the Wheel of Life, right? Where you have eight
Yeah.
different categories. How does that work? And what do you tell people who feel stuck in one of these categories?
Firstly, bro, I'll answer that for you, but I just want to acknowledge you. You know, like I've been interviewed by a lot of people. I've had the privilege of interviewing a lot of people. What you're doing here, you're sprinkling humor and entertainment into topics that are life-changing. We know that a person would learn 7 to 10 times faster if they're enjoying what they're learning. We also know that on the Hawkins scale, the vibration of joy is at 540. So that is love and above. So I just want to take the moment to acknowledge you for your work, because you're actually creating joy and entertainment through the experience of learning such powerful tools. So I'm just fucking loving what you're doing, dude.
Oh
Just
man, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Thank you.
yeah, man, good on you. And good on you for doing things differently. Um, so the Wheel of Life was very powerful, mate. Like I traveled the world and I spent $2 million in personal development and coaching. And I looked at someone like Tony Robbins saying, they use this thing called the Wheel of Life. And then Dr. Johnny Martini, he's got this other kind of Wheel of Life. And so I thought to myself, what are the areas of life that I would like to measure? Because if I'm now in Australia and I want to sail to the US, I first have to know where I am. Okay, which is Australia, which signifies where you are from 1 being the lowest to 10 being the highest in the different areas of life. Most people don't ever do this, okay? So they don't know where they are in physical health, mental and emotional, financial, relationships, business, career, you know, you name it. So then what they're doing is they've set goals in some areas of life where they would like to get better or where they already suck.
Yeah.
But they forget the other ones. Like, yeah, I want to grow my business. I want to get more wealthy, but they don't set goals in their relationship. You know, 10, not even 10 years, 1 year later, their marriage is suffering because they haven't focused on it. So what
Mm.
I did is I put together the Wheel of Life with 8 areas of life where a person can jump onto my website. Just go to drespen.com. You can click on the link and you can do the survey where you score yourself from 1 being the lowest to 10 being the highest in 8 areas of life. And then the system will actually send you a PDF with your results, and you know exactly where you are, exactly what's keeping you stuck, and exactly what you need to do about it. And so, for example, the area that I added that no one else had done was time, because I recognized that a lot of my clients are high net worth individuals and you know, successful business people, and one of their biggest problems is time.
Yeah.
You know, so we measure time and we know how then to improve their relationship with time, because they're not going to have more time. Everyone has 168 hours of the week. People say, I want more time. You're not going to get more time. That's not possible.
You're right.
What you can do is you can learn to master time rather than time mastering you. But you have to do the Wheel of Life first so you can know where you are and where to go from there.
Okay, I love that. So that's what you do. So if someone came to you and they're like, I'm stuck in abundance, they would see it on the wheel and be able to tell.
100%. And because the question specifically asked them, how do you feel? How long has this been going on? Whatever else, you'd also get clarity on where the situation is. Because again, if you're stuck in finances, it's not a lack of money.
Mm.
Okay. It's really important. If you're stuck in relationships, there's not a lack of friends. Yeah, it could be, but it's extremely rare. It's the vibration inside of you that's leading to this issue. We
100%.
know that everything around us, by quantum mechanics, by the science of quantum physics, is everything around us is a direct reflection, a mirror of the energy inside of us. It's an inside job. You don't have to go without when you go within. So there's no point looking at your spouse and saying, I am this way because of him or her. There's no point pointing fingers. This is you as the conscious and unconscious creator of that in your life. Change your energy, you change your life. Change your energy, you change every area of life. There's no way around it. And that's why this is so important to do this work first, and then to realize that, as I said before, we are the common denominator.
Love it. So one more question. I'm gonna play a quick game. You told a story on a podcast. You were talking to how you were talking to a doctor and you told the doctor, I'm not going to die. Isn't that what everybody says when they're on cocaine?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The confidence you had in that video, I was like, wow, man, this guy
Well,
knows.
They say that until they have the come down the next morning when the dopamine is out and there's a big crash, and then the thought is, fuck, I'm going to die. Fuck, I'm going to die.
But I love this story. Can you tell everybody what you said? It was so cool.
Absolutely, dude. So I love this conversation. This gentleman that I had this conversation with is one of the leading heart surgeons in Australia, a very successful man in business. What I've realized that, again, there's two different types of people. Scenario one, they believe that they're only physical. He believed that he was only the body. There's
Right.
no such thing as spirit. He's purely mechanical. He'll chop you up. He'll change the physical heart with a scalpel and some tools, and he'll sew you back up again, and that's it. And so we had this conversation as to what happens when we die. We're at this kind of VIP dinner with entrepreneurial friends of ours, and the conversation around the table, I'm sitting there just listening. I love listening. And the conversation was, what happens when we die? And one person goes, well, I don't know, maybe, this happens and that happens. And the other guy's like, oh, this and that. And, he was religious. And then they came to the surgeon and he goes, we rot.
Oh,
Right. And I'm like, okay. This is interesting. I know right away what his belief system is, which
yeah.
is where I know the amount of suffering that he's experiencing in his life because he's perceiving nothing outside of his five senses.
It's wild.
Right. But then I don't know if I can help that person, because if they believe that they're only matter, I can't teach them the spiritual principles because they're stuck in the old paradigm. But anyway, it came to me. So the heart surgeon says, I'm going to rot basically. And, it came to me and I'm like, here we fucking go, let's rip it open and see what happens. So they said, so what happens when you die? And my answer was, we don't. Right.
That's
And
so
then everyone
good.
looked at me like, what do you mean? I said, we don't. And I said, okay, let's pick this apart. So this is philosophy, right? I said, pick it apart. I said, firstly, let's define the I. The I pertains to the essence of who we are. And by quantum science, since 1918, it's been proven that we are made up of energy, non-physical consciousness. And less than 1% of who I am is matter. And so then if you say I'm going to die, you're meaning that your body will die. And I agree. But who am I? And the answer to that question is that I am consciousness. I'm
Yeah.
that which has always been, will always be. In this life, they happen to call me Espen. Okay.
Mm.
So when you say, what happens when you die? My answer is, I will not. Because the essence of me, that is spirit, that is the eternal embodied in temporary time, will not die. So again, if you say, I will die, well, you're speaking about a percentage of you that is less than 0.1%. That is overall being stuck in the matrix. So then he looked at me, he's like, oh, no, this woo-woo shit. I was like, it's actually not woo-woo stuff at all. It's just science has been left so far behind that either we get with it or we will perish as a species. So when he said, I will rot, I said, no, I will live on. And so the question is, what happens when we die? My answer is, we don't.
I also love it. Like, let's just say that we don't know who's right in this scenario. Wouldn't you rather choose option B than we rot?
Well, that's the thing, right? And that, I think, most people don't realize that they can choose their belief.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We can choose our belief. The program, the pattern, the belief that you borrowed from your parents doesn't need to be yours. In fact, as Bruce Lipton says, 98% of your programs aren't yours.
Yes, which is
So
so
I'm not
important.
saying what's right or wrong. I'm asking you, what do you want to believe? What would be the best thing for you to believe? And for me, it's that I am consciousness having a human experience. I'm free to flow. I don't need to take seriously what the gods made for fun. I can go through this human experience and put a skip in my step and know that, I am powerful and I am limitless, rather than I am just this flesh and bone that'll die and perish and rot. So yeah, choose your belief. And it was so funny. It was 2 minutes after I had this conversation and everyone started looking at each other going, that's an interesting concept. You can see everyone thinking. And then 2 minutes later, the surgeon just stood up and left and never came back. So I don't know if he took offense and whatever else, but at least we got his belief questioned somewhat, I guess.
I love that. All right. Well, I like to close by playing a game called Spiritual or Asshole, where I say some things and you tell me if it's spiritual or asshole. Are you down?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. Spiritual or asshole? Walking around like a zombie with your arms out saying, I'll do whatever Andrew Huberman tells me to do.
Asshole.
Okay. Spiritual or asshole? Celebrating people's biological ages. So your friend who's always grumpy turns 30, you say, hey, happy 75th, bro.
Oh, spiritual.
Spiritual or asshole? A more accurate American Ninja Warrior where it's a bunch of Americans narrowly jumping over a Taco Bell.
Ooh. Oh shit, man. I'd say spiritual to that. As long as it's in alignment with their highest values and they're truly enjoying what they're doing.
Okay, spiritual or asshole? I don't know if you saw this, but the viral meme at the Salzburg airport that said, "Hey, this is Austria, not Australia. Stay calm. You're in the wrong place."
Oh shit. I think that's funny,
It's so
but I
funny.
don't know. I think asshole. Asshole. Let's
Okay.
be gentle here.
Spiritual or asshole? The fact that Australians call everyone legend, even someone who you're like, hey, he plays video games, lives with his parents, he's an absolute legend.
Shit, that speaks to me, man. I call everyone a legend too. Um, I would say that's spiritual because it comes from a point of wanting to elevate another person.
Oh, I love that. Spiritual or asshole? Instead of going for a six pack, you're telling everyone that you just have one really long one pack.
I would say spiritual as long as you are really comfortable with that and you're not brushing it off in a way such as you're trying to make yourself feel better.
Love it. All right. If you could, last question. If you could tell people one thing to tell themselves all day long, what would it be?
I am that I am. I am infinite potential. And my experience in this life is to live my life to the fullest in service of myself and the others around me.
You were very ready for that question. Oh my God.
Just live, let your light shine. Don't take it so seriously. We'll never get out alive in the physical sense. So just enjoy, put a skip in your step. This life is serious and it doesn't need to be. Remember who you are, flow with it, have fun with it, and make every day the most magical day of your life to whatever extent you can.
I love this. We can tell everybody where they can find you. You have a great website. I was on it earlier.
Sure. Dr. Espen, DRESP for Peter, E for Echo, N for Norway, drespen.com, or just Dr._Espen. Just type in Dr. Espen on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You'll find us there. Send me a message in Instagram if you have any questions. I'll send you some resources, some links to some interviews and whatever else. So yeah, reach out to us. I do a thing called the Quantum Experience, which is either live or virtual, like a one-day thing, including breath work. It's pretty cool to go through that and to learn some things about ourselves and to have the breathwork experience as well.
I love it. Well, this has been a blast, man. Thank you so much.
Dude, you're a legend. Thanks for making me laugh and smile, Brendan.
All right.